Welcome to Sustainability in the Air, the world's first podcast dedicated to sustainable aviation. This show is brought to you by Simplifying, which has been helping build trust in travel for over a decade. Through in-depth conversation with aviation leaders, Sustainability in the Air breaks through the current clutter and provides a clear roadmap for the future. It's about time we embarked on creating a net zero future for the industry, together. This season of the podcast is brought to you by Carbon Click, leaders in managing carbon offsetting programs for top global airlines. Without further ado, here is your host, Shashank Nigam, CEO of Simplifying.
Today on the show, we welcome possibly one of the most niche airlines we've had on the show till date. We are having Andre Viljoen from Fiji Airways, the CEO of the airline, who's coming to us and sharing very interesting perspectives, not just from a niche airline that punches above its weight in the South Pacific, but also an island country that is severely impacted itself by climate change and has seen the impact of climate change firsthand. Andre, it's a pleasure to be speaking with you.
So good morning, Shashank. Yes, indeed it is. And I'm looking forward to this chat so I can share with you, what we at Fiji Airways are facing, and also at the same time, some of the achievements we've managed to, chalk up as a small airline.
Absolutely. And it's rare when I get to speak with a CEO where your country has faced the impact of climate change more than most others. I mean, there have been, entire villages that have been wiped out in the past in Fiji because of cyclones. I think there was a 40% hit to the GDP a few years ago because of one of those cyclones that you had. Now, for a country that is dealing with climate change head on, you're the national airline. What kind of a role does Fiji Airways play in a scenario like that?
Yes, so you're quite right. Fiji has suffered a number of instances where small villages have disappeared as a result of rising water levels and all as a result of climate change. So yes, it's a very serious matter. And also the huge impact that we suffer from cyclones. We've had devastating cyclones in the country. So what role do we play? We're a role model. If we do it right and we set the right example, we're setting an example for all the other important industries in the country, like the hoteliers. And in fact, we work closely with them at times. So we see ourselves as an important role model. And we've done a number of things in this regard. Firstly, by operating the most fuel-efficient aircraft that you can get today. It's a new generation aircraft. We have a program with every takeoff, we plant a tree. And we've also developed a very important communication scheme where we've got an amenity kit for our kids, where we're educating them on conservation of the beautiful sea life that we have in Fiji.
Wow.
And then we also have eco trails and a number of other important aspects that we pursue in order to promote the importance of conservation.
So let's dive into each of those. In this conversation, we will touch upon a lot of these. One of the interesting ones I personally found quite appealing was this program for kids that you have around conservation efforts. I think it's called Our Ocean, Our Lives, isn't it?
That's right. So we've called this Our Ocean, Our Life, and it's an activity pack and a book series for children, where basically we're promoting the awareness of our oceans and the importance of preserving the oceans. The book series and activity packs have championed a few of the particular creatures in the sea, and they basically each tell a story of how they infected and the impact that conservation has on these oceans. So if I start with, it's led by Cebu the turtle, who is the protagonist of the oceans and our life. And she is supported by Fiji the flying fish, Skipper the seahorse, Starry the starfish, and Oki the octopus.
Oh wow! I want to read this to my kids now.
Yeah. In fact, I sent a copy of my grandchildren in South Africa, and they are absolutely mesmerized by the stories that each of these characters talk about how you can preserve the oceans. So Sabu is on about a quest to save their homes, their coral-rich waters surrounding our 330 islands. And Fifi, the fish, hates plastic in the oceans, having been trapped and almost died herself as a result of a plastic net. As she applauds any efforts to reduce plastic use in Fiji, and in the end, less plastic that we use means less plastic in the oceans. Aki the octopus is the master of the 3 R's and a huge proponent of getting rid of styrofoam and other single-use items. And Aki is big on recycling and wants kids from all over the world to understand the importance of recycling. Skipper the seahorse cannot emphasize enough how rising ocean temperatures threaten his very existence, and champions rehabilitation of the mangroves, as they are nature's carbon capture and the ultimate protectors of our coastlines. So these little creatures have such a strong message and education for the children that fly on our flights. And it's such a huge positive way that we can, get across conservation in the nicest, friendliest way and start with the small children.
So this is very interesting. I definitely think the next thing your team should do is sell this concept to Disney so that Disney can make Finding Sabu as the next story after Finding Nemo.
Now, we have the books and we have little stickers that they can stick. But the next thing we're working on are soft toys that you basically then also acquire on these creatures. And it's a magnificent program and we're very proud of it. And in fact, we've won an award for it, international award.
That is fantastic. Now, I'm curious, why did you focus the kids? I've seen airlines focus on amenity kits for business class passengers or facilities for frequent travelers. Why kids?
Because kids are the future adults. And they're the future of the world, aren't they, in terms of, conservation. I mean, adults are working at it, but I think kids can put a lot more impetus with parents. And as I say, they're the future.
Well said, well said. Now, you mentioned earlier when we were just starting that this same story also leads to an eco tour. Is that something that's part of the Fiji Airways offering?
Yes, so basically we now have an excursion for holiday makers where they can go on a mangrove and a total eco tour. Basically, it's a tour where they basically, after they go on the tour, they go and plant mangroves. And as I mentioned earlier, that mangroves are the best carbon capture that you can get in terms of plants and trees. So they go and plant mangroves, and then they go to a park called the Kalula Adventure Park, where they explore the incubation lab, which is the world's largest crested iguana captive breeding center. And then at the same time, they basically engage with the endangered hawksbill sea turtles, and they can actually hand feed these turtles. So you can imagine coming to Fiji, going to a hotel, enjoying all the normal amazing amenities and the lovely holiday that you experience. And then at the same time, you have this opportunity to go and plant mangroves and also actually hand feed, turtles. What an experience. So it's an amazing eco tour that we offer.
This is quite interesting because you're taking tourism to the next level. You're involving customers in the same conservation story that started on the airplane with these activity kits, for example, for the kids, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. So they can see Sabu's parents.
Exactly, and feed them. Now, I'm very curious now. How does one go about doing this? Do I book this on the Fiji Airways website when I'm booking my ticket? Is this something I call up the hotel for?
No, so you can book it on the website, and also you can book it through any one of the operators in the country.
Very nice. How long have you had this for now?
This is new.
So
it's basically at the same time that we launched our Ocean Our Life program for kids that we basically had this offered for passengers, and it's all post-COVID.
Very nice. Well, post-COVID, definitely there's a rise of ecotourism and people are more conscious about their travel. So I'm sure there's strong take-up for this going forward. The main thing, though, is as an airline, right? Airlines, by default, you burn fuel. And we have to think beyond conservation efforts. Conservation efforts are a great start indeed. But what do you do beyond promoting local wildlife conservation to tame your own carbon footprint?
So our first step in that regard was to acquire new generation, more fuel efficient aircraft. We have our two 350s, the Airbus A350s, and we have 5 Boeing 737 Maxes. Both aircraft are new generation. They consume anything between 20 to 25% less fuel. And we also introduced a special software called SkyBreathe that enables us to optimize how we fly and how we monitor the flying to ensure that we're focused all the time on conserving fuel.
So it's a fuel management software.
It's a fuel management software, but it also helps us to ensure that we have the best policy for tankering and choose the best alternate airports, because as you know, we're in the middle of the oceans. And your requirement for safety is that you have to fly within a 3-hour range of land when you're flying over the ocean, so you end up to dogleg a little as you fly. And this software, together with the efficient flight planning we do, we try to ensure that we're minimizing burning fuel and getting there as straight and direct as possible, notwithstanding the fact that ETOPS, which is the requirement to fly within 3 hours of land, that we were safe, but at the same time that we're managing fuel burn.
Now, that's interesting. From my basic geography, as far as I understand, Fiji is in the middle of the South Pacific Ocean.
That's right.
You're not necessarily, close to any big land.
That's right.
If you think about a flight from, let's say, Fiji to Vancouver, which you recently announced, and Fiji to Los Angeles, or even Fiji to Hong Kong or Japan, how do you stay close to land?
Well, so basically you're flying within a 3-hour range of land at any point, and you have to choose alternate airports that if you have to land. And so if, for example, we're flying to Los Angeles and we can't land in Los Angeles, you have an alternate airport, you have to carry extra fuel for the alternate airport. But as I say, even before you get to start landing, you've got to be within 3 hours of an airport, that if you have an engine failure, that you can get to that airport. So all of this careful planning is what our flight operations team does, and we use software like SkyBreeze to do it.
Got it. So you're optimizing fuel as well as the new aircraft that definitely lower fuel burn.
Yeah. So the routing and the alternate airports and also having new generation aircraft is how we're doing our best to optimize the amount of fuel we burn.
Right, definitely. You also mentioned earlier that you're planting trees every takeoff, is that right?
That's right. We started this program several years ago, and it was our small way of saying every takeoff we do on an international flight, we plant a tree. And to date, we've planted 50,000 mangroves. What we do with this program is we don't always plant it just our own staff. We actually involve school children and university children to come and do it with us. So we invite schools to come and plant. We use the Ministry of Forestry to help us as well. And we have this big program where every couple of months we're out there planting mangroves with a lot of the locals participating and in creating that culture of how important it is for us all to play a role and to keep focused on climate change and to keep improving our mangroves, which are so important in the country.
Wow, so you're actually planting mangroves in Fiji, and these are locals you partner with to plant them, not tourists necessarily.
That's right.
Got it.
So every takeoff we plant a mangrove.
Okay, that's fantastic, and I think that's a very good start. Now, interestingly, I had Scott Kirby from United Airlines on this podcast who said United doesn't plant trees because there just aren't enough trees to plant to take care of an airline's carbon emissions. Now, I'm sure while the one tree or one mangrove per takeoff is a good start, what more are you doing beyond planting this one tree per takeoff?
So I think I've covered them all. Yes, we agree that planting a mangrove won't cover all the fuel burn, and the carbon emission that we're burning. But at the end of the day, it's all the other actions combined with it. It's the more fuel-efficient aircraft. It's the planning of routing and routes, and also the optimization we achieve with the management system, Skybreathe. It's, as I also mentioned, our amazing education program for children. All of these combined, help us on the journey to achieve a net zero carbon emission by 2050.
2050. Okay, so what I'm hearing is that Fiji Airways takes a holistic ESG approach towards this rather than just reducing carbon footprint.
That's right.
Right? You're engaged in the community, you're looking at the environmental goals, governance, all of it together.
Well, talking of community, not only in the planting, but even our in-flight safety video is very important in this, because this is where we showcasing to all our visitors to the country our beautiful natural beauty of the country, and how communities all over the country are working hard at preserving the beautiful nature we have, and also working on basically minimizing carbon emissions.
Right. No, I've seen that safety video, and I have to say I'm impressed. I want to visit Fiji after seeing it on YouTube. That's the beauty of safety videos these days. You get to see them even before you board the plane. One of the interesting things, though, is I think Fiji has bounced back quite strongly from a tourism perspective post-pandemic. I think kudos to the entire Fiji Airways and Fiji tourism team to be able to do this. What we're seeing, though, is a lot of countries like Indonesia or others are rethinking what kind of tourists they want as they open up. They are rethinking tourism. Now that tourism is back, do you feel there's a change post-pandemic? Is there a new normal for tourism in Fiji?
Well, I think, as you mentioned earlier, people are far more aware of the impact of climate change, and they're looking to see how airlines like ourselves and country Fiji are putting a lot of effort into preserving beautiful nature that we have, that Fiji is known for, and the efforts we're taking. And I think there is a willingness on the tourism side for people to participate. And I think that's the change we see.
I'm also aware that post-COVID, you did something very special with your staff. You call that the Gratitude Week. Can you tell us a bit more about that, please?
So it was an amazing week, lots of activities. Our HR department designed many different activities which you had to participate in. But just the mere fact that you arrive at work and instead of walking in with problems, you walk in looking at the people and saying, thank you for being amazing.
Right.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for the support. It changed the week to a very positive, and as I say, a respectful week where you see things that you don't see.
Now, this Gratitude Week, was this company-wide or was this just a couple of departments?
The entire company.
Wow.
Right across. So even the remote offices, we sent them cakes, sent them messages, they sent us messages. So one of the days you had to write a note to anyone that you've had a problem with before, to apologize and thank them, and all little things like that. It just was really great fun.
Wow, it's one thing to thank someone who helped you. It's completely another to say thank you to someone whom you had a problem with.
Just opening your heart and saying, you know what, it's okay. We all have different views and points of views and opinions, but I can still thank you.
Right. No, that is absolutely amazing. I'm curious, how large is the Fiji Airways team?
So 1,300 people.
1300?
1,300, yeah.
Okay, and then I think it's the right team size to do something like this as well, an exercise like this.
It worked very well.
Is this something you think of repeating often or regularly?
I can tell you, I've been inundated by staff saying, please, this was so amazing, can we do it every year? Because I think we've never done it before. We've never gone around and said thank you. We're always complaining.
Right. Exactly. I've not heard of companies that have done this. So, in fact, I think you should do this quarterly, not just annually. Have a gratitude day perhaps every quarter, and then a gratitude week once a year.
A good point.
Yeah, worth giving that a shot. One thing I forgot to commend you about is I feel Fiji Airways is one of the few airlines which has a lot of women at the top as well, and you've done a fantastic job of representation, not just of local Fijians, but also women in your C-suite, Shehnaz being a very good example herself, as well as others. Kudos to you on that.
Yes, so our CFO is a woman, and our entire finance team, except for 3 out of 57, are all women. So we have women power like you've never seen, and I think they brought a value during COVID that the men didn't have. They were more collaborative, their communication skills are better, their critical thinking was superb. So I've got a short presentation I've done on our women power, and I think they've added huge value to our journey of success through COVID.
Wow, that is absolutely fantastic. I think that's another podcast episode we should do on women empowerment, because I think the industry can learn from that.
Yeah, so IATA rate us very highly, and at the last IATA AGM, we were telling them that 46% of our total staff is women.
46%. That's almost double of
Yes.
IATA's target of 25%.
Yes. So we've set the example here, and as I say, our women power is strong. In fact, on the executive floor, it's basically almost all women.
Wow. Okay. Well, no wonder the Gratitude Week goes down so well at Fiji Airways.
Yes, no, it does.
I think your ecotourism program that you talked about earlier is also quite visionary. I do not know of many other airlines who do something like that, so I'll be keen to learn in the future what the take-up for that is.
Well, obviously, you need the beautiful country Fiji to do that. You need turtles that you can go and feed, and you need Sapu's parents around, and you need the beautiful ocean that you can go and explore and find Fifi the fish and Oki the octopus.
Absolutely. I think I'm going to be sharing these names with my kids after this recording. Now, one of the more interesting things that happened pre-pandemic, I think it was that Fiji Airways joined One World as an associate member. If I'm not mistaken, One World also is pushing its members towards a sustainable future through joint procurement of SAF and things like that. Do you benefit in your sustainability initiative as part of an associate member of One World?
So that's right. We were the first Connect partner, which is the junior partner, if you want to call it. And we were obviously very happy and privileged that they chose us as the first small airline in the world that they wanted to add in. And that's a great honor for us. And yes, we will participate once your SAF fuels are available. And so that's the advantage of being part of, the elite giants of the world. And so small airline, we can't R&D on SAF, but we can certainly benefit when our major partners progress on that.
Absolutely. And I think that's where the industry is moving together. And it's, I feel very positive. This is a very good sign that the industry is moving together on some of these initiatives.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you think is the biggest challenge the industry needs to overcome when it comes to sustainability?
Well, obviously, exactly that, to progress with these biofuels, that, we can get to a stage where safely we can operate with less, carbon-based fuels and rather more biofuels.
Right, absolutely. Which airlines do you think are getting it right when it comes to sustainability?
I certainly hope that our partners in One World are leading the pace there, which is American and British Airways and Qantas and Cathay and, and many of the other partners in One World.
Definitely lots to look up to. And I think you can share your own journey as well. What gives you the most hope about the future of sustainable aviation?
What is the most hope?
Yes, what gives you the most hope?
Well, I think the fact that we're bouncing back as airlines, I don't think anyone can ever understand, unless you're the CEO of an airline, what we've been through in 2 years. When one morning you park, we did a lot of risk management before that, and never in any of the risk management would we ever have thought that the entire business is suspended for almost 2 years, where you have zero income coming in, a little bit of freight that's insignificant, and you've got these massive cost structures to sustain. And the question, do you stay alive or do you just roll over and die? And to deal with that, and now to see it, the rate at which we're ramping up and bouncing back gives me a lot of hope. Now, I think that it's made us more humble. It's made us more cooperative and collaborative. And I think there are a lot of side benefits that come from the tragedy we've been through.
Absolutely. In fact, I need to give you credit here at this time, because I remember 1.5, 2 years ago when Simply Flying launched the health safety rating together with Apex. Fiji Airways, one of the first airlines to raise its hand and said, all right, audit us on health safety measures. I remember your measures being very impressive, especially in the lounge, which does not have HEPA filters, and you went above and beyond and were the first small airline to be diamond rated and also part of the health safety board. So, just that showed leadership on your part, and thank you for that.
Yes, we took a view right from the start to keep the airline alive, because 50% of the economy of Fiji is tourism, and we bring in 70% of the tourists. So the logic was the airline needed to stay alive, but at the same time survive. And to survive and stay alive took a lot of strategy. And part of that strategy was to pioneer wherever we could, to revamp and reinvent wherever we could. And we've been through quite a journey, and I think we've come out of it a better airline.
Absolutely. I once again, it gives me a lot of hope seeing how you have come through COVID and the pandemic time so strongly. It gives me a lot of hope about how Fiji can be an example on sustainability as well going forward, how to achieve sustainable growth from an island nation like Fiji.
Very important. And I think, yes, as you say, to some extent, we've set a good example that many didn't follow the same way. And I think our strategy was right. And that gives us more hope for the future. And I think that's another hope, so the two hopes, the industry recovering like it is, and the fact that a small little airline can play a major part in sustainable actions for the future.
Indeed, Andre. I really appreciate your insights. Now, this final part of the interview is what I call the rapid fire round. It's a bit more personal.
Right.
And obviously, you were not sent these questions ahead of time. So you have to come up with the answer as we speak about it.
Yeah.
We'll start with something simple. I'm going to ask you a question and you tell me what comes to your mind. Yeah. Your favorite book. If it's on sustainability, then extra points.
Well, I don't have a favorite book, I'm sorry.
Okay, how about a favorite movie?
My favorite movie? Well, in fact, I do have a favorite book. It's called Mandela's Way.
There you go. Okay, Mandela's Way. And what about your favorite movie?
I love Invictus.
Oh man, we are going straight down. Should I guess the rest of the answers now?
Well, you know that I reported to Mandela for 4 years.
Really? That's fantastic. How was it working with him?
I was the most amazing human being I've ever worked with, and I was blessed.
Wow, that is amazing. Tell me, is your favorite city then Joburg?
Well, no, my favorite city is Lisbon. My wife's Portuguese.
Oh, that helps. Okay, that got you some brownie points there. What about your favorite airline other than Fiji Airways and Mauritius and South African Airways?
Well, I'm quite a fan of Emirates. I think they've got an amazing model and they've done a good job. Absolutely.
Definitely a favorite of a lot of people, I think. Who do you look up to?
In terms of airlines?
In terms of leaders.
Well, I've got I'm very into NLP and mindfulness and mindful development. And my favorite person is Michael Bunting, who is one of the leading transformational psychologists. And he's just done a book called Vertical Growth. And it's all about, having an open mindset, managing your thinking through mindfulness and becoming, bringing the best out of yourself. And this is the guy that my absolute favorite.
Fantastic. I'm definitely going to check him out and learn about him. It's a field I'm deeply curious about and learning about. So what do you do in your free time? Do you meditate on the beach?
Well, my wife is a neurosemantic psychologist, and I get a lot of coaching at home, and we coach each other. And so we are very into NLP and mindful practices and do a lot of work on it. And we help a lot of people to develop themselves.
That is fantastic. I'm curious then, who wins the argument at home?
I know, I'm a novice. She is an expert coach, and I get coached more than I really want to. I've got this joke I always say when I get home, and she says, "Love, how was the day in the office?" And I say, "Oh," and I start complaining. She says, "Sweetheart, come and sit here. Let's talk about their intentions. Let's talk about your mindset. So now I've learned. Before I come in the house in the car, I'll complain. When I walk in, he says, "Sweetheart, how's your day?" "Amazing." And I avoid a coaching session.
That is fantastic, Andre. And then finally, what is the best advice you've ever received?
I remember when I qualified as a BCom student and I applied for a job at a company to become an accountant there. And the then financial director said to me, "Andre, go and do chartered accountancy. That what you've done is you've got a theoretical academic degree. You're unemployable." He said, "Go and do something practical like the chartered accountancy, learn how to apply accounting." And I followed his advice, and 4 years later, I took over his role as financial director of a major company in South Africa. And I think that was the journey that started me off, realizing that your mind is so powerful if you can manage it properly. And we call it metastating. And I think that was the changing point for me. I call it the crisis I went through because I thought I'd arrived. The world owed me. I was entitled. And I found I was zero. And having to go from that to build myself up to be, I call it the zero to hero, because it's from the inside out. And that was a major learning for me. And I think that was one of the best advices I've ever received.
Wow, that is so humbling, isn't it? Just when you think you're on top of your game, you want to go back and learn and you take over your boss's role in a few years.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, thank you, Andre, for opening up and sharing some personal side. I'm sure not just the audience, but your staff would be happy to hear some of these insights as well.
No, sure. Anytime.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. Fiji Airways is on an exciting journey, and it's definitely made a strong start in its sustainable journey. And I look forward to seeing and hearing what's next.
Thank you very much. And thank you for this opportunity to share a bit about Fiji Airways and our journey we've been on. And we're very excited about the future. And I think, country Fiji is the place people should come and visit. It's the most amazing, I would say, hospitable and beautiful place in the world.
Thank you very much once again, Andre.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Sustainability in the Air, the world's first podcast dedicated to sustainable aviation. We hope you liked it and will share it with your network. Please also leave us a review. Awareness is the key to a green future. Your support will help our insights on sustainable aviation reach a wider audience. In addition, for every single listen of this podcast, we will plant a tree. And for every single review, we will plant 50 trees. You can also write to us at podcast@simpliflying.com. And for more content on sustainable aviation, please visit our website, simpliflying.com, and join the movement.